Canada is ready to send troops to Ukraine on one condition. Canada is open to sending a limited number of troops to Ukraine. Canadian troops will not take part in combat operations, but they are ready to train Ukrainian soldiers, according to Canadian Defence Minister Bill Blair. Blair said that the idea of sending military personnel was discussed earlier this week in Paris, where he was present, while Canada, like many other NATO countries, opposed the idea proposed by French President Emmanuel Macron. Blair announced a potential non-combat mission for Canadian troops. This involves sending a limited number of military personnel to train Ukrainian defenders within Ukraine's territory, provided that such an operation is conducted far from the front lines. According to reports, the security agreement between Canada and Ukraine, signed last week, allows Canada to conduct training activities in Ukraine when conditions permit. For the first time in the West, the idea of sending troops to Ukraine was raised at the highest level. French President Emmanuel Macron voiced it at an informal summit in Paris, stating that nothing can be ruled out. Military and political observer of the information resistance group, Alexander Kovalenko, notes that Macron is addressing various geopolitical issues, expanding influence in Armenia, and heading a coalition of long-range weapons supplies to Ukraine. Maybe he feels like Napoleon, on a horse, but his statement really raises many questions. What troops will be in Ukraine? For what purpose? Why? With what functionality? Will they act as peacekeepers? Then what will they do? Stand along the line of contact and monitor the ceasefire? But why stop the fire if Ukraine has repeatedly stated that we will not stop until we win? Or, as full-fledged allies, like during World War II, who will liberate Ukrainian territory? I have big doubts about this. It won't happen. We don't live in the times of Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. And in general, we are surrounded by quite weak politicians who will not make such tough decisions. He notes. US intends to launch further strikes at Houthis, but Ansar Allah expands war in Red Sea. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has said Washington intends to launch further strikes at Houthis in the Middle East. We intend to take additional strikes and additional action to continue to send a clear message that the United States will respond when our forces are attacked, when our people are killed, Sullivan told. Abdel Malik al-Houthi, the leader of the Houthis from Yemen's rebel Ansar Allah movement, has warned about more escalation if Israel continues combat operations in the Gaza Strip. I am warning Israel and the United States and telling them that they must stop the aggression against Gaza and lift the blockade. Otherwise, we will seek more escalation. The Al Masira television channel quoted him as saying in an address to supporters, following the escalation of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in the Gaza Strip, the Houthis warned that they would launch strikes on Israeli territory while barring ships associated with the Jewish state from passing through the waters of the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait until Tel Aviv ceased its military operation against Palestinian radical group Hamas in the embattled enclave. Since mid-November, more than 30 civilian ships have been attacked by the Houthi in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Meanwhile, the Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sari said the strikes will not pass without a response and consequences. Another Houthi spokesperson, Mohammed Abdul Salam, indicated the group would not be deterred, saying Yemen's decision to support Gaza would not be affected by any attack. Russia has become a menace to France in view of its actions. French Prime Minister. Russia has become a menace to France in view of its actions since the onset of the Ukraine conflict. French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal told the Senate, defending President Emmanuel Macron's earlier suggestion of potentially sending Western troops to Ukraine. Macron's words came after a meeting of Ukraine's sponsors in Paris on Monday. No consensus was reached on the prospect of sending ground troops to aid Kiev, he told the press. However, the French president promised to stop at nothing to make sure Russia does not win in Ukraine. Responding to questions in the French Senate about the remarks, Attal insisted that Russia has hardened its stance towards France over the course of the conflict. He accused Moscow of spreading false information while engaging in attempts of destabilization and cyber attacks. The reality is that Russia is a direct and immediate threat to France on all levels. He insisted that the French leader's statements were responsible and echoed Macron's view on the need to ramp up military aid to Ukraine, explaining that he may have been speaking of troops being sent to provide technical support to Kiev's army rather than to fight. Attal suggested that such a deployment may include training Ukrainian troops in ground-to-air defense or protecting certain borders. European officials balked, however, quickly denying that they had any intention to put boots on the ground in Ukraine. From skeptics, Hungary and Slovakia, to staunch pro-Ukraine nations such as Poland and Germany, governments insisted that no such plans were in motion. The same message came from NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg and Washington.
No jumper.
First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity. To you ribs, to you sisters out there learning in silence and staying in order, I say to you all, Shalom. Right, I kind of like this channel here because they go into various topics, and really just I personally like to keep my eye on all these little scrimmages and wars and all these things because it sets the tone to what happens next, and what's the climate, right? And now that Canada is now sending support to Ukraine. Here's the thing about that. I don't even know how much troops Ukraine really has, man, because they've been getting slaughtered. A lot of the men are quitting, literally on the field. There's men reprimanding other troops for running and not wanting to fight, leaving their post because of the onslaught of Russian troops. And there was actually Russian troops showing dog tags coming from the U.S. Now, I'm not saying that the U.S. sent troops to fill in these spots. It could be that we have U.S. troops that either have ties to Ukraine by family, some type of support, that they volunteered to go there, right? Because there's no active deployment of U.S. troops publicly right now. So there was a thing where they had contracted military people who work off the grid. They have direct ties to the military. So does Russia, has their own branch, and that's around the time when they annexed Crimea. They used those troops back in 2013, I believe it was. Yeah, you can look this stuff up. But now that we have Canada sending support to Ukraine, let you know that they're not giving that up. Right, the U.S. have moved on to help Israel. Now Canada is helping Ukraine. So it's not slowing down at all. At all. Hamas and the Houthis are still fighting, right, to no end. The land of Israel has not declared a W on that war. They're still trying to level that whole place. But the war goes on. I mean, it's a really interesting time, man. Just touching off the third woe and how involved this thing is, man. And, if you've been watching for quite some time, even before I even knew the truth, I was following this stuff. And, I saw that we've been at war since, I want to say, probably late 90s with a bunch of countries, man, setting the tone for the third woe, which is in the scriptures, which is known as World War III, right? Then we had that 9/11 thing, the 9/11 thing with the two towers, whatever, was the epitome of what's to come. There was, moving forward. Ever since then, they've been on a mission. They've been in a hell bent mission. I'm gonna show you a clip real quick. So like I can't find it. I attempted to, but yeah, it's happened around, I'm gonna say 2014, 2013. That I saw this video. But I mean, there's just so much destabilization going on, in many countries. That just reminded me, Russia, as we speak, is having a bunch of bank issues, right? Which leads to another topic. Because Amalek holds all this money, right? He controls basically all the nations. He was given the dues of heaven. So he's really in control. Well, the Lord is in control. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is in control. And he's the one, dealing with Amalek to have him push all the right buttons to fulfill prophecy, right? Everything we see, right? Everything I showed you, all these little scrimmages, it's all war games in a sense, right? It's like the powers that be, the shadows that be, principalities in high places, right? These are the people who's playing games, right? Just to set laws, right? What we see, all these scrimmages really don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? They're just trying to pass different laws. And that's what we're seeing. Right. And it really like sank in even deeper when I found out that the bankers got their hand in Russia, right? They got their hands here. They got their hands everywhere. So technically they could make any country do whatever they want. Right? It's not this country versus that country, man. Really, the Lord makes people do what they do, man, and fight each other, man. Right? Because if it was up to the people, it'd be peace. In a sense, right? Because, men are just greedy. But really, it's the Lord, pushing all these buttons, making sure that, everything's lining up according to plan, right? But it's not yet. It's for a moment, right? We have to wait. This is what Albert Pike, somebody who was born in 1800s and died right before the 1900s, right before the first, second, and third war had started. I like to bring this up because this person's statue is in Washington, so he's a very prominent person, and what he said back then really came true, and that they do have an agenda, and these people push it, right? So it's the third war. It's predestined, first off by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, gave them the instructions, right? But they already set the game plan, right? They already got the game plan on paper. So what you're seeing is not an accident, man, at all. This shit was done meticulously, right? It says here, this is quote, starting at the top over here. It says the First World War must be brought about in order to permit I can't say that word, to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia and making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. Divergences caused by the angular agents of the blank between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken religions, right? Now, mind you, even if this thing was written after the Second and Third War, they have still written this about a third war that we're going to get into. So whether this document was written by him or not, written by somebody else, whoever wrote this knows the game plan. Right? It says the Second World War, World War II. The Second World, as we know it, or the Second World War, must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascist and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that the Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. Sheesh, right? It says during the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which could be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Right? So they're using Christianity at the end as a weapon. And I'm going to read to you how, because they already laid out, right? Let's see the third war. We're going to start here where I'm highlighting. It says the third world war is said to be last. Quote, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by agenter of the blank. Now, let's look at that word agenter. Let's see here. Agenter, oh here. Agenter is a calligraphic sans serif typeface with, wait, I'm trying to figure out what this word's saying. It says agenter. What is that saying? The office or business of an agent. That's what an agenter is. All right, cool. It says here, differences caused by agenter, right? The word agent is in there, of the blank between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. This is the third war. It's going on right now. Right, as we see in the land of Israel, Hamas, all of them are heavily involved. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam or the Muslim Arabic world and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Wow. Isn't that happening now? This is matter of fact, I'm gonna put this link in the description. But you see where I'm getting at. And this is Albert Pike statue. I think it's been vandalized as of recently. I'm not sure if it was taken down or not, but it would make sense why they would take it down. All right, man. I hope this video was edifying. I want to say, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching His word and truth and sincerity. To you, Ribs, to you, sisters out there, learning in silence and staying in order. I say to you, Shalom.